Hello, this is Gilgamesh from overclockerstech.com. Today we're going to do the unboxing and a brief overview of MSI's rather new products, the MSI X58 Xpower Big Bang. And as you see here, it's in a lovely attractive box, very eye-catching, quite sturdy, showing all the features of the motherboard on the back. It looks like for the first time they've got voltage measurements just like the Asus boards, and we have various chokes here, and obviously we can see it's a socket 1366 motherboard. If we open the box up, which is a simple unlocking, we take the motherboard out. Obviously you can see we've opened this up before, and this will come apparent shortly. This is the MSI X58 motherboard. If you'd like to take it out of the nice solid packaging that we've got here, which is usual protective foam underneath. This is the motherboard itself, looking rather like a Gigabyte board or some Asus boards, but that's where the resemblance ends. As we can see around here, we've got there's plenty of space for a rather large water block or a CPU cooler. And starting around the CPU area, we'll give a brief tour guide. Over here you can see the Dr. Moss heat sinks covering the PWMs and the North Bridge, and you see they're quite fancy and will look like they'll well be able to get rid of any excess heat from overclocking. Around here we have the low profile high cap capacitors, and this is easier if you want to use the for liquid nitrogen, dry ice cooling, and other forms of sub-zero cooling. And this allows you to insulate it much easier. And I've insulated one of these, and it's literally a breeze. As you see at the top here, we're going to have not one but two 8-pin EPS connectors. In all honesty, you don't need both to do both of them unless you're using extreme overclocking, for example in sub-zero cooling. If you're using air or water overclocking, the chances are you won't need that second to fill that second 8-pin EPS. All around the motherboard you can see various fan headers with MOSFETs, so you can plug in high performance fans without blowing the header. And LEDs here, we can see it's a 16-phase board. And here we have the LED showing the phase light up, so when you're going through the post sequence it will show what phase is being used at that time. Triple channel DDR3 sockets as usual on all boards, and that's where the resemblance to any other board ends. Here we have 6 PCIe sockets. We will notice that's not one of them are PCI, they're all PCIe, except for they're not all PCIe 16. You can tell this by if you go to the reverse side of the motherboard, and you can see the amount of solder points. The longer solder points are times 16, the shorter points are times 8. So, but a slight disadvantage there, but again, this is exactly like the Asus Rampage 3 system. It uses the same principles. However, you can use 4-way SLI on here, despite the limiting on the extra bandwidth from the PCIe lanes. And if you look close here, you can see an actual 6-pin socket for extra power for the graphics cards, again for extreme sub-zero overclocking. Here we can see a massive South Bridge cooler, looking rather nice. Notice that we go around all this, it's all military grade components, there's no messing around, there's no cheap components here, it's all high quality stuff. This is military grade too, by the way, also MSI's marketing blurb likes to say. Here we have 8 SATA sockets as well, and the white one is SATA 3 and the black one's at SATA 2. And just as we saw in the packaging, here we can see the actual voltage connectors. So if you want to test the actual voltage for overclocking and you see how it's performing, it's a doddle just to do. This is your ground, and then you get the rest of them for CPU, DIMM, MCH, and so on and so forth. Over here, we're moving to the side of the board. We have the OC Genie function, where it's a simple press and click, and we've got an overclock, instant overclock. Here it looks like there's some switches actually missing. The reset, the power, plus or minus. This is actually, these actually are present. You actually touch the actual board itself, which are heat sensitive, and it'll power on. We've got dual gigabyte LAN here. Moving to the rear of the motherboard. Dual gigabit LAN. We have 2 network cards. We have USB 3, eSATA, and FireWire. So, and it looks like we even have SATA 3 external as well, eSATA. This goes back to the LCD display that will be displayed that we showed earlier, and we've got a clear CMOS setting there. Move to the underside of the motherboard. If we like to take a close look here, and you can see screws rather than cheap plastic clips like a lot of motherboards used to use. Here, this is not actually included with the motherboard. This actually comes, this backing plate comes with a wonderful XSPC Raza CPU block, and as you can see, it's there with some compression barbs. We put this on here to give you a reference and on an idea on the size of the socket. If we like to take this off now, which is just simple, we've only put 2 on for now, but normally you'd put 4 on. We have a Core i7-920 there, and you can see for yourself how free and clear the CPU socket is. This is great for true heatsink fans and high density water blocks. Hello, this is Gilgamesh again from Overclockers Tech, and welcome to the accessories part of the MSI X58 Big Bang Xpower. And we'll go through the accessories here. Here we can see all the bump that you get with it. You actually get quite a lot of stuff. We've got the MSI Xpower quick guide here, and we have a manual for the actual software that comes with it, the additional software. We have yet another user guide for the hard drive backup utility. We have an OC dashboard guide, more on this later. We have a brief overclocking guide for new users, and I would recommend, though, if you're a novice to overclocking, you would be best advisable to get a cheaper board rather than something expensive like this, because it's essentially not a beginner's overclocking board. This is more of an elite board, and it's really designed for sub-zero cooling. Anyway, this is they have included it anyway for beginner users, so it is nice of them. We have a quick install guide showing you how to install a motherboard, which is obligatory for any motherboard manufacturer in the world. And of course we have the big MSI X58 user guide, the big one, which shows you all the BIOS settings that's written in various languages. And what I do like about this, unlike most motherboard manuals, the English is at the front rather than being at the back or in the middle or some obscure places like most motherboard manufacturers. So that's nice of them. And moving on, remember we talked about those voltage points measurements earlier on the motherboard? This is it. Some little nice extenders, so you don't have to squeeze your probes onto the board itself. You just put the probes on. It makes it more comfortable for you to actually use the actual system. We're going to open it up. As you can see, they really have included a lot of stuff. We've got a lovely sound card, THX certified sound card, and Quantum Wave. I haven't heard of that before, but I wonder if it uses the Realtek codec. We'll find that out in the future review of this motherboard. So as you can see, it's all looks sheer quality, and rather than being on board the motherboard, it's on a riser card instead. So if we like to place this here. The next thing we'd like to talk about, which we explained earlier, was the OC dashboard. Essentially, it just clicks on the back of the motherboard, and you can see essentially the postcodes and the clock speed of your motherboard. Basically it's a user-friendly guide and display to display your overclocking results. Nice of MSI, although Asus has done something similar, but again it's still very nice. But what I do not like is the size of the LCD screen. It's very tiny. What should have been is the LCD screen should have been almost an inch in height as well, to actually help visibility of readouts. So, but it's there anyway. So if you want to use it or not, it's an added bonus. We have various Sli bridge connectors. If you want to do double or triple Sli or quadruple, there's another one in here somewhere. And we have the brackets for the eSATA and even eSATA power, similar like Gigabyte do. We have the internal SATA leads. Those are the black ones, so they're for SATA 2. We have another one here. Now we move on to the SATA 3, which is white, which is kind of odd considering everything's blue and black. Personally, I would have gone blue for SATA 3 or black for SATA 2 and so on and so forth, but not chosen a completely different colour that really doesn't fit with the overall scheme of the board. Again, we have another bracket here. This is your USB 2. This is not USB 3, rather USB 2. You can tell because it doesn't have the blue bits on the end here to signify it's USB 3. But it's there nevertheless. In addition to the many other connectors on the board, you've got these. As I was saying earlier, here's some more Sli bridge connectors. If you'd like to take a look at this, this shows that it's more than capable of fitting 4 graphics cards using one or more of these connectors. If we'd like to take the cardboard divider out, we have mini USB to USB lead. This is for your OC dashboard. Very nice of them. And lastly, and not least, is also the signal data lead for the actual OC dashboard again. If we go back to the USB fits into that side, and the signal data lead fits into there. And that's it for the unboxing of the MSI X58 Big Bang Xpower. And this is Gilgamesh from Overclockers Tech, and thank you for joining us.